Leonardo Vitali, head of the Vitali Syndicate. The kind of man whose shadow could silence a room rarely, came to his younger brother Marco's house, unannounced. But tonight, he felt drawn here by a pressure he couldn't explain. A heaviness in his ribcage, a sharp instinct honed from years in the streets. Whispering that something was wrong, the villa stood quiet under the dusk sky, its white stone walls glowing faintly under the lantern lights. The wind rustled the olive trees in the courtyard, but the house itself remained still, almost breathless. Leonardo stopped at the front door and noticed the first detail that prickled at him. It wasn't locked. Marco never left a door unlocked. Not after the life they'd lived. Not after the enemies they'd made. He pushed the door open. The hinges gave a soft groan, echoing down a wide hallway lined with expensive artworks and polished floors. The smell of sandalwood incense lingered in the air, a scent Marco used to mask late-night drinking sessions. But today.
The incense was old, faded.
As though burned hours ago. Or days, Leonardo called quietly. No answer. He stepped fully inside, closing the door behind him. The house felt wrong in a way that tightened his jaw. Not messy, not chaotic. The opposite. It was too clean. Marco was careless. He left bottles on tables, jackets over chairs, shoes where they fell. Yet here, everything sat in perfect order. Cushions aligned, lights turned off, surfaces sterile. Sterile. That was when Leonardo smelled a faint chemical note behind the sandalwood. Metallic, damp. A scent he knew too. Well, from abandoned warehouses where secrets were buried. He moved down the hallway, each footstep sharp against the stillness. He checked the kitchen. Empty. Dining room untouched. Marco's bedroom cold, sheets smooth. No sign of someone sleeping in them recently. Leonardo's agitation grew. He wasn't a man given to panic, but his pulse ticked dangerously at his throat. He walked into the living room. The sun, slipping lower outside, cast long shadows across the furniture. That was when he saw it. A wine glass on the floor beside the couch, tipped over but unbroken. Red wine had dried into a dark stain on the carpet. Marco didn't spill wine. Not unless Leonardo crouched, pressing 2 fingers to the dried stain. Sticky, hours old. He lifted the glass, examining the rim. No fingerprints wiped clean. Someone had been here. Someone had tried to cover something. And imperfectly, that was when the sound came. Soft clink, metal hitting concrete, so faint Leonardo almost mistook it for imagination. He went still. Another clink then. A muffled, choked sound. A broken breath. Leonardo rose slowly. Turning toward the hallway that led to the guest rooms and beyond them, the door Marco always kept locked. A door Leonardo had never seen open. A basement door. The sound came again. Clearer this time, clink, struggle, something, or someone down. They're moving weakly. Leonardo moved toward the door with silent precision, his hand resting on the gun beneath his coat but not yet drawing it. He reached the metal handle. Cold. Freezing cold. He turned it, unlocked. He felt his heartbeat. Change rhythm. Leonardo opened the door and was hit by a wave of chilled, stale air rising from below. A narrow staircase descended into near darkness, lit only by a faint bulb that flickered as though on its last breath. He stepped onto the first stair. The wood creaked. Halfway down, a soft whimper floated upward. A woman's whimper. Leonardo's blood iced. He moved faster now. Boots striking the steps with controlled force. At the bottom he paused, letting his eyes adjust to the dim basement. It was larger than he expected. Cement floor. Cold brick walls, crates pushed to one side. But his attention locked instantly onto the far corner of the room. Figure small, huddled, chained to a steel pole bolted into the ground. At first she didn't lift her head. She was curled into herself, arms pulled tight by the short length of the chains. Her dark hair hung matted around her face, her clothes torn. Dust smeared across her skin. Then she heard him. Her head jerked up, eyes wide, pupils blown from fear. She tried to scramble back, but the chains snapped taut, jerking her harshly. Asterisk? No. She gasped. Don't come closer. Please, please don't. Leonardo stopped immediately. His voice dropped. Calm but heavy. Asterisk. I'm not going to hurt you. Asterisk. She shook her head desperately. He said that too. He said he wouldn't. Asterisk. Her voice broke. She squeezed her eyes shut, breath shuddering. Asterisk. Leonardo took another step into the weak light, letting her see him fully. She froze. Her breathing hitched. Recognition flickered in her terrified eyes. Asterisk. You're Leonardo Vitali, she whispered. Asterisk. He didn't confirm it. He didn't need to. His face was known in newspapers, whispered about in back rooms, feared across the city. Her next words trembled out like something sharp lodged in her throat. You're not him?
Asterisk. No,
Leonardo said. I'm not. Asterisk. Her shoulders sagged in relaxation, but in confusion. As if she couldn't understand why the devil she knew had walked in instead of the devil she feared. Asterisk. Leonardo's eyes swept the basement, taking in every detail: the chains, the bruises on her wrists, the dried blood on her ankle where the metal had cut deep. Asterisk. Who did this to you? He asked. She swallowed, voice small. Your brother. Leonardo didn't move. Didn't blink. His expression didn't flicker, but something inside him shifted with seismic force. Asterisk. Her voice cracked again. Softer this time. Asterisk. Marco. Marco brought me here. Silence flooded the room. Leonardo stepped forward slowly, kneeling beside her. She tensed, but he kept his movements measured, controlled, gentle in a way few ever saw from him. Asterisk. How long? He asked. Asterisk. I don't know, she whispered. 3 days? Maybe 4. I lost track. Asterisk. Her lips were dry. Her throat worked painfully. Her skin carried the pale, waxy sheen of dehydration. Asterisk. Leonardo unbuttoned his coat, slipped it off, and draped it over her shoulders. It swallowed her small frame entirely. Asterisk. She stared at him as if she didn't understand why he was doing this. Leonardo reached for the chains. She flinched so hard she nearly fell sideways. No, he said. If I try to get free, if anyone tries, asterisk, listen to me. Leonardo said, his voice low, steady, and terrifyingly calm. He is not here. Asterisk. But he'll come back. He said he would. He said, asterisk, he won't touch you again. Asterisk. Something in his tone, the steel, the promise. The rage barely chain made her mouth fall silent. Asterisk. Leonardo pulled a compact wrench tool from his pocket. A mafia boss didn't survive decades without being prepared for locks, cuffs, or traps. He worked the bolts with cold efficiency. The first cuff snapped open. Her arm fell limply to her side. She stared at it like it didn't belong to her anymore. Leonardo worked the second. Each twist of the tool tightened something in him, something that had been brittle for years, but never broken until now. Click. The final cuff released. Asterisk. Her body slumped forward, weak, collapsing into Leonardo's hands before she could stop herself. He steadied her, lifting her gently until she leaned against his chest. She whispered, barely audible, Why? Why are you helping me? Asterisk. Leonardo looked at the bruises circling her wrists, the dried tears on her cheeks. The terror etched into her bones. Asterisk. And then he spoke, the truth with a calmness that vibrated with violence. Asterisk. Because my brother did this. She blinked up at him, and because he won't do it. Again. Asterisk. Leonardo lifted her carefully, her weight nothing to him. She clung weakly to his shoulders, trembling as though the cold basement had seeped into her bloodstream. Asterisk. As he carried her toward the stairs, she whispered one more sentence that twisted the knife already lodged in Leonardo's spine. Asterisk. He said. He said no one would ever find me. He said even you wouldn't care. Leonardo's grip tightened. "Oh," he murmured, eyes darkening with a fury that could level cities. Asterisk, Marco has no idea what I care about. Asterisk, and as he carried her out of that basement, one truth crystallized, sharp and lethal. Asterisk, tonight, Marco Vitali became an enemy. Asterisk. Leonardo carried her up the basement stairs as if she weighed nothing, though he felt every tremor in her body as sharply as if they were his own. When they reached the hallway, she winced at the sudden light. Lifting a hand weakly to shield her eyes, he slowed instantly. "You need time," he murmured. Asterisk, she shook her head, voice raw. I'm okay." Asterisk, but she wasn't, and Leonardo could read a person's condition better than most doctors. Years of navigating wounds, interrogations, and the aftermath of brutality had sharpened his instincts. The woman in his arms was dehydrated, starved, sleep-deprived, and traumatized to a level that burned beneath the surface. Asterisk. Yet she clung to consciousness with a frightening determination. Asterisk, he carried her into the nearest guest room, a place Marco used to throw drunken parties, now disturbingly clean. Leonardo gently laid her on the bed. She curled slightly, like a creature still expecting pain. Asterisk, Leonardo stepped back only long enough to pour a glass of water. He returned and sat on the edge of the bed. Asterisk, slow sips, he instructed. Asterisk, her hands shook too much to hold the glass, so he held it for her, letting her sip carefully. For the first few swallows, her throat spasmed painfully. She coughed, gasped, then tried again. Asterisk, Leonardo waited, with a patience few men ever saw from him. Asterisk, when she finally leaned back against the pillows, breath steadier, she closed her eyes. Not to sleep, just to gather strength. Leonardo studied her silently. She was young. Not too young, mid-20s perhaps. Her hair was tangled but thick. Her face marked with bruises inflicted by someone who didn't care whether a fist landed on bone or skin. She had grit, though he could see it beneath the exhaustion. The way she fought to sit upright even when her muscles trembled. Asterisk, what's your name? He asked quietly. She hesitated, as if the question itself felt dangerous. Ilara, she whispered. Asterisk, he nodded. Ilara, I need you to tell me everything. Everything Marco did to you. Everything he said. Everything he's involved in. Asterisk, her fingers tightened around the blanket, knuckles whitening. Fear flickered through her eyes, but not of Leonardo. Of the memory. She took a shaky breath. Asterisk, he kidnapped me. Asterisk. Leonardo froze, the muscles in his jaw tightening. She quickly held up a hand, as if expecting him to explode with anger. Asterisk, wait, let me explain. Asterisk, he forced himself to breathe. Forced himself to stay seated. He folded his hands in his lap, knuckles pressing together. Asterisk, I'm listening, he said. Ilara nodded and began. I'm a journalist, she said. Investigative. I don't write for big outlets, not the kind that your family keeps on a payroll. I work independently, mostly underground pieces exposing corruption. Her voice cracked slightly before she continued. A few months ago, I started following a trail. Missing people. Funds disappearing from certain shell companies. Patterns that didn't make sense. The more I dug, the more the trail pointed to a man working beneath the radar. A man hiding under someone else's shadow. Leonardo didn't move. Ilara lifted her eyes to his dot. Asterisk. That man was your brother. Words were a blade shoved between his ribs. He used your name, she whispered. Your reputation. Your fear factor. Everyone thought it was you running those operations. Safety payments. Offer cord shipments. Movements of people. Leonardo's breath stopped. People, not drugs. Not weapons. People. Human trafficking? No. Sound reverberated in the room. Only the pounding in. Leonardo's skull? Asterisk, Ilara? Turned her face away as she continued, shame tightening her voice. Though she had done nothing wrong. Asterisk, I didn't know at first. I thought it was some mid-level crew using your family's influence. But the deeper I went, the clearer it became. The money trail, the encrypted messages, the safe houses. It led me to Marco. Leonardo felt the temperature in the room shift. Or maybe it was him. His blood boiling like molten steel. Ilara kept speaking. Almost mechanically now, as though reliving it. I went to confront him. I thought he might be scared, maybe even regretful. But he laughed. He said I was too smart for my own good. And then he dragged me into his car. Tears welled in her eyes. Not fast, not dramatic silent tears. Born of days of helpless captivity, he kept me blindfolded the whole drive. I didn't know he brought me to his own house. I thought he'd brought me to some warehouse. Somewhere no one would ever find. Leonardo's fingers curled slowly into fists. He chained me in the basement, she whispered. Told me if I screamed, no one would hear. That you'd never come. That you wouldn't care, even if you knew. Leonardo leaned forward slightly, unable to stop himself. What else did he say? Ilara hesitated. Her voice softened, terrified, but honest. He said. He said if you ever found me, you'd finish what he started. That you'd silence me yourself? Leonardo swallowed a vicious curse. So Marco had been building a narrative, setting Leonardo up as the villain, using his legend as cover for his own crimes. He'd always known Marco was reckless. Selfish, too eager to drown in luxury and shortcuts. But this was not recklessness. This was rot. A rotted soul wearing the Vitali name like a mask. Leonardo stood abruptly, pacing once across the room. Ilara flinched at the sudden movement, curling inward instinctively. He froze instantly and turned to face her again. Softening his voice, I'm not angry at you. I know, she whispered, though her body still trembled. I'm angry at what he did. Angry at myself for not seeing it earlier. He dragged a hand through his hair, the weight of betrayal heavy enough to bend steel. Ilara, he said slowly, I need to know something. Did he tell you why he started this operation? Her silence made the room colder. He didn't start it, she whispered. Leonardo stilled. What do you mean? Ilara's gaze locked with his. He inherited it. Leonardo's blood ran cold. From who? He asked quietly. Ilara swallowed hard. From someone inside your organization. Someone high-ranking. Someone you trust. Marco bragged about it. He said he was the new successor. That the old boss of the operation had passed it to. Him! Leonardo's pulse thundered in his ears. A traitor. Inside his syndicate. Someone. Close enough to Marco to collaborate in secret. His. Voice turned cold as winter steel. Who? Ilara shook her head helplessly. I don't know. Marco talked a lot, but he never said the name. He just laughed and said, even my big brother doesn't see what's happening under his own nose. Leonardo exhaled slowly. The air sharp enough to cut. Rage and clarity intertwined in his veins, forming something precise, deadly. Ilara watched him, her voice barely a whisper. He's dangerous, Leonardo. More dangerous than people think. He's trying to replace you. To become you. Leonardo's expression shifted. The beginnings of a smile ghosting across his lips, not a pleasant smile, but the kind that foretold war. He will never be me. Ilara pulled the blanket tighter around herself. He said he wouldn't stop until you were out of the way. Leonardo stepped closer, his voice quiet but vibrating with lethal intent. Ilara, do you trust me? She blinked, eyes glossy. I don't know. He nodded once, accepting the honesty. You don't need to trust me, but you are safe now. And as long as you're in my protection, nothing will ever hurt you again. For the first time. Her shoulders eased a fraction. Leonardo reached for his phone. One call. One command. His men would start hunting Marco tonight. But as he dialed, Ilara reached out with a trembling hand and grabbed his sleeve. Wait. He looked down at her. There's more, she whispered. The phone stilled in his hand. What more? Ilara swallowed hard. Marco didn't just kidnap me to silence me. He wanted leverage. He wanted to use me against you. Leonardo's eyes narrowed. How? Her voice broke. He found out something about you. Something personal. Something he said would make you crawl on your knees if he threatened it. Leonardo felt the world tilt. What did he find out? He asked, voice low. Ilara looked at him, fear and sympathy mingling in her expression. He said, He knew who you cared about. Leonardo's breath stopped. That's impossible, he whispered. Ilara shook her head slowly. Not anymore. It's asterisk. And in that moment, Leonardo Vitali realized the truth. Marco wasn't just committing crimes.